There's a mystery unfolding in the vastness of space, one unlike anything we've seen before. Astronomers have given it a name, 3I Atlas. But beyond that name lies an enigma. No one knows what it truly is, or what it's doing. It looks strange. It moves strangely. Even its composition defies logic. And now, after months of study, there are hints that this object might have been watching us long before we ever saw it. Let's start with some of the newest photos of 3I Atlas, taken by astrophotographers deep in the remote deserts of Namibia at the southern tip of Africa. This place is already known as one of the darkest regions on Earth, but during a recent lunar eclipse, when the Earth's shadow completely blocked sunlight from reflecting off the moon, the night sky became almost pitch black. In that perfect darkness, the photographers aimed their cameras at 3I Atlas, and what they captured was truly unbelievable. The mysterious object appeared to glow a bright, eerie green across the night sky. That shouldn't be happening. Based on everything scientists currently know about this object, there's no natural reason for it to emit that kind of light. Experts think 3I Atlas is an interstellar comet, meaning it didn't originate in our solar system at all. It came from an entirely different star system. Like most comets, it has a glowing cloud of gas and dust called a coma, and a long fan-shaped tail that stretches across space. This comet isn't like the ones we usually see, because it didn't form in our solar system. It's a visitor from another star, traveling across the galaxy before finally reaching us. Scientists expected it to be unusual, but not like this. The real mystery is that 3I Atlas keeps acting in ways that make no sense at all. Normally, it's not strange for a comet to glow green. The color appears when ultraviolet radiation from the sun reacts with carbon molecules in the comet's coma, the hazy shell of gas and dust that surrounds its nucleus. The glow specifically comes from diatomic carbon, or C2, which is made up of two carbon atoms bonded together. If 3I Atlas were an ordinary comet, it would contain plenty of these carbon compounds, and sunlight would naturally cause that green shimmer. But recent observations from some of the world's most advanced telescopes have revealed something shocking. 3I Atlas doesn't have any of those carbon chains. There's no trace of C2 at all. And yet, somehow, the comet is glowing a brilliant green. Why? No one has an answer. Some scientists joke that maybe aliens just like green lights, but for now, it remains a genuine cosmic puzzle. We also know that the coma surrounding 3I Atlas is filled with carbon dioxide, CO2, carbon mixed with oxygen atoms. That can make the comet shine brightly, but it doesn't explain the green hue. Even stranger, the amount of CO2 detected is much higher than its water vapor H2O levels. That's the complete opposite of what we usually find in comets, which are typically dominated by water ice, with only small traces of carbon dioxide. And that's not the only strange thing about this object. The coma surrounding 3I Atlas also contains an unexpected amount of metal, particularly nickel. Now, metals themselves aren't rare in comets. We've seen traces of them before. But they usually only appear when a comet gets extremely close to the sun, where the heat is powerful enough to vaporize and release them. What's baffling is that nickel was detected in 3I Atlas while it was still between Mars and Jupiter, a region far too cold for metal to vaporize naturally. There's no clear explanation for how it's releasing so much nickel, unless we consider a more unconventional idea, that 3I Atlas might not be a comet at all, but possibly something artificial. Think about this. Rocket engines are often made from metal alloys rich in nickel, and when they fire, they emit both nickel and CO2. The very same combination scientists are detecting from this object. Now, that doesn't mean we're dealing with aliens. The odds of that are still very slim. But there's another detail that makes this story even stranger: the way 3I Atlas moves. Since it was first discovered back in early May, its trajectory and speed have stayed almost perfectly stable. it hasn't accelerated, slowed down, or changed direction in any meaningful way. That might not sound too strange, but for a normal comet, that kind of stability is almost impossible. When comets approach the sun, the heat causes their frozen surfaces to sublimate, meaning the ice turns directly into gas. As that gas escapes, it acts like a natural thruster, pushing the comet slightly off course. Scientists call this process non-gravitational acceleration, or NGA. Here's where things get weird. 3I Atlas has been sublimating for months, forming a visible tail that first pointed toward the sun and later stretched away from it. Yet, its velocity and direction only change by about 1.5 kilometers per day. That's incredibly steady. For comparison, the interstellar Comet 2I Borisov fluctuated by more than 100 kilometers per day. Hale-Bopp, one of the largest comets ever recorded, varied by about 10 kilometers. And Oumuamua, the first confirmed interstellar object, shifted by more than 1,000 kilometers per day. Compared to those, 3I Atlas is practically motionless, unnaturally stable, as if something is keeping it perfectly balanced. It's holding its course so precisely that it almost feels controlled, like it's being guided intentionally. Of course, there's likely a natural explanation, one we haven't figured out yet. But if, just if, it were being steered, that would mean it could change direction at any moment. For now, astronomers predict that 3I Atlas will pass behind the sun and continue on to the opposite side of its orbit, moving out of our view. In other words, we may not see it again anytime soon, unless it decides to slow down, turn around, and wait for us on the other side. Here's a wild theory that might actually make sense. Have you ever heard of the WOW signal? It was detected back in 1977 by astronomers at Ohio State University, who were using something called the Big Ear Radio Telescope. Basically, a massive ear built to listen for strange signals coming from deep space. One day, it picked up something so unusual that the researcher monitoring the data simply wrote, "Wow," on the paper printout. And that's how it got its name. What stunned scientists was an extremely strong, narrowband radio signal that lasted 72 seconds, coming from somewhere far beyond our solar system. We know it didn't come from Earth, the Sun, or any planet we know. The only clear thing is that it originated from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, a mysterious region in the Milky Way filled with stars, dust, and possibilities. The first thing that caught scientists' attention was how much energy it would take to produce a signal like that. If it came from an intelligent civilization, they'd have to be advanced enough to control the power of a star. But if it was a natural event, it must have come from something unbelievably powerful, maybe even from inside a star itself. Another fascinating clue is its connection to hydrogen, the most common element in the universe. When hydrogen atoms interact, they create a very specific radio frequency called the hydrogen line, exactly 1,420 megahertz. And the frequency of the WOW signal? You guessed it, 1,420 megahertz. If an intelligent species wanted to send a message across space that any advanced civilization could easily recognize, this would be the perfect frequency to use. Yet, in the 5 decades since, no one has ever detected another signal quite like it. Now here's where things get even stranger. Astronomers recently traced the trajectory of 3I Atlas, and it seems to come from that same general direction, the constellation Sagittarius. That's a huge coincidence. It's led some to wonder, what if the WOW signal didn't come from a distant star, but from 3I Atlas itself? Back in 1977, the object would have been out on the edge of our solar system, far beyond Pluto. Maybe, just maybe, it was sending a signal ahead, announcing its approach. Of course, that's only a theory, one that hasn't been proven, but hasn't been ruled out either. And that's what makes it so captivating. Objects like 3i Atlas remind us that the universe is full of mysteries we're only beginning to understand. The truth is out there, and it's getting closer every day.